The age-old debate about whether individuals are primarily shaped by their surroundings or if their actions stem purely from personal choices has fascinated philosophers, psychologists, and everyday thinkers for centuries. On one hand, environmental factors, such as family dynamics, socioeconomic conditions, exposure to violence, and access to education, can profoundly influence a person's worldview, behaviors, and opportunities. A child raised in chaos, for instance, might internalize patterns of aggression or survival instincts that manifest in destructive ways later in life. This perspective aligns with theories like social learning, where behaviors are modeled after observed actions, or the impact of trauma on brain development, as studied in fields like neuropsychology. On the other hand, personal decisions play a crucial role. Even in adverse circumstances, individuals exercise agency, making choices that can either perpetuate cycles of harm or break them. Free will suggests that, regardless of background, one can choose empathy over vengeance, restraint over impulse. The adage, "everything we possess in life we either earned or permitted," adds another layer. It implies a sense of ownership over one's circumstances, either through direct effort, earning, or passive acceptance, permitting. This resonates with Stoic philosophy, emphasizing control over reactions rather than events. However, it can feel overly simplistic or even victim-blaming in cases of systemic inequality or abuse, where permission might equate to survival rather than consent. In reality, it's often a blend. Surroundings set the stage, but decisions direct the play. True accountability emerges when we acknowledge both, fostering growth without excusing harm. These thoughts come to mind on a gloomy evening in March 2010, when paramedics rushed to a residence in Escambia County, Florida. A 19-year-old woman had endured a nightmarish assault, her injuries so catastrophic that her skin had turned blackened and was peeling away from her body. Yet in her agony, she mustered the strength to name her attackers. This tragic event underscores the interplay of environment and choice, how a lifetime of hardship can warp one's path, yet deliberate actions seal fates. What follows is a detailed exploration of this case, drawing from the lives entangled in it, the horrors unfolded, and the justice pursued. The troubled origins of Tina Lasonia Brown. Tina Lasonia Brown entered the world on July 19. Born to young parents, Lily and Willie Coleman, who had married early in life. Their union, marked by immaturity and instability, quickly unraveled under the pressures of parenthood. Just 11 months after Tina's birth, her brother Willie Coleman Jr. arrived, adding to the family's burdens. The parents, prioritizing their social lives over family responsibilities, often left the children unsupervised or shuttled them to relatives for weekends. Despite the close age gap, Tina, as the elder sibling, assumed a caretaker role for her brother. She prepared meals, helped with homework, walked him to school, and ensured his safe return home, duties far beyond her years. The family's dissent deepened when Willie Sr. entangled himself in gang activities, funding their lifestyle through drug dealing. In mid-1982, a violent assault on Lily prompted her to file for divorce and flee, abandoning her children to their father's custody without further contact. Left alone with an abusive parent, Tina endured physical and sexual mistreatment from Willie Sr., who continued peddling drugs from their home. Desperate for escape, Tina sought refuge with her paternal grandmother, confiding the abuse. Tragically, the grandmother dismissed her claims, accusing Tina of lying and banishing her back to the abusive household. The assaults resumed, compounding Tina's trauma. Against family wishes, Willie Sr. remarried a woman named Melinda, described in court records as aggressive and unfaithful. While the direct abuse from her father halted, the home remained a cauldron of chaos. Infidelity-fueled arguments, alcohol abuse, and drug use. Melinda and Willie introduced Tina to psychoactive substances, further eroding her stability. Melinda even coerced the teenager into prostitution to fund their vices, exploiting her stepdaughter's vulnerability. In the late 1980s, an FBI investigation into Willie Sr.'s gang ties led to his arrest and a year-long prison sentence. Tina briefly reunited with her mother, Lily, but clashed over strict household rules, resulting in her expulsion onto the streets. She bounced to an aunt's home, but her unstable upbringing hindered academic success. Over 4 years, Tina transferred between multiple schools, barely graduating high school amid the scars of neglect and degradation. Post-graduation, lacking stability and battling addiction, instilled by Melinda, Tina gravitated to transient living among similarly afflicted youth. There, she met Greg Miller, a fellow addict, and their tumultuous relationship produced 2 children, both born with health issues due to her lifestyle. During her 3rd pregnancy, Tina parted from Greg and entered rehabilitation, giving birth to Brittany Angelique Miller on June. Opting for treatment over losing custody, Tina allowed Lily to adopt her first 2 children while retaining Brittany. For 4 years she maintained sobriety, striving to provide the love she herself lacked, shielding her daughter from the deprivation that defined her own childhood. Tina's efforts faltered with new relationships. She married a man arrested for drug distribution, forcing her into bartending. Another partner mirrored her past, violent, humiliating ending in his incarceration. Struggling financially, Tina resorted to forging checks, leading to arrests. She turned to exotic dancing for income, relapsing into substance abuse. By 2005, at age 35, court-mandated treatment briefly stabilized her. She worked as an assistant manager in catering, but depression struck again. In summer 2009, seeking a fresh start, Tina relocated to Pensacola, Florida, with Brittany, securing bakery employment and settling in a mobile home park. Income shortages pushed her into sex work, straining her bond with neighbors. Among them were 28-year-old Heather Trini Lee and 19-year-old Audreanna Zimmerman, a single mother of 2 young children, Trinity, 2, and David, 3. Audreanna Zimmerman, a young life in turmoil. Audreanna Zimmerman, born April 13, 1990, faced her own hardships, though details of her early life remain sparse in public records. By 2010, at just 19, she was navigating single motherhood in the challenging environment of an Escambia County mobile home park in Ensley, Florida. Financial strains were acute. Raising 2 toddlers demanded resources she lacked, with unreliable partners offering little support. Zimmerman turned to neighbors for help, forming tentative alliances with Tina Brown, Brittany Miller, and Heather Lee. Mobile home parks like this one often harbor residents scarred by past adversities, poverty, addiction, instability, fostering volatile dynamics. Minor disputes could escalate into violence, a common thread in such settings. Initially, the women shared a semblance of camaraderie. Tina and Heather assisted Audreanna with childcare, creating a fragile support network. But resentments brewed, conflicts centered on men, parenting, and petty vendettas. Audreanna clashed with Tina after the latter reported her to child services, alleging neglect, a move that threatened Audreanna's custody of her children. Her deepest fear. Audreanna retaliated by accusing Tina of meddling, breaking her car window, and other slights. Tina countered, claiming Audreanna slashed her tires. The feud intensified when Brittany discovered Audreanna's alleged affair with her boyfriend. In one altercation, Brittany attacked Audreanna, who defended herself with a stun gun, a device that would later become central to the tragedy. Heather Lee often mediated, but her efforts failed as grievances snowballed. The environment amplified tensions. Lacking stability or positive influences, outbursts were unchecked. Audreanna, still a teenager in many ways despite motherhood, struggled with emotional control, mirroring Brittany's impulsivity. Tina, informed of the stun gun incident against her daughter, seethed with rage. Shaped by her own abusive past, she rejected police involvement, opting for personal vengeance, a choice that echoed the cycles of violence she endured. The fatal night, March 24, several days after the stun gun clash, Tina orchestrated a deceptive truce. On March 24, 2010, she invited Audreanna to her trailer, feigning reconciliation. Audreanna, feeling isolated and hopeful to end the strife, accepted. Unbeknownst to her, Tina, Brittany, Heather, and Brittany's 13-year-old friend Mallory Azriel waited. Premeditation was evident. Brittany confided in Mallory their intent to confront Audreanna, threatening her silence. Around 9:00 p.m. Audreanna arrived. Moments later, Chaos erupted. Tina retrieved a hidden stun gun, the same type used on Brittany, and assaulted Audreanna repeatedly, sending electric shocks through her body, paralyzing muscles and inducing terror. Audreanna collapsed, pleading for help. Heather stuffed a sock into her mouth to muffle screams while Brittany punched her face. They dragged the incapacitated woman outside, stuffing her into the trunk of Tina's red Hyundai SUV. Driving about 1.5 miles to a wooded clearing, they pulled Audreanna out. As she regained consciousness and attempted escape, she tripped over a tree root in the darkness. Tina and Brittany caught her, resuming the assault. Tina used the stun gun again. Brittany wielded a crowbar, fracturing her own finger in the frenzy. They swapped weapons, deriving sadistic pleasure from the torment. Tina then fetched a gasoline canister from the trunk, dousing Audreanna, still conscious and terrified, before igniting her with a lighter. As flames engulfed Audreanna, the trio watched. Brittany reportedly jumped excitedly, shouting obscenities. Believing her doomed, they drove back. Brittany, realizing she'd left items behind, the stun gun and her shoes. Tina refused to return, underestimating the evidence trail. Miraculously, Audreanna extinguished the flames by rolling on the ground. Despite burns covering approximately 60–90% of her body, skin charred and sloughing, a dislocated jaw and blunt force trauma, she staggered about a mile to Terence Hedrick's home. Hearing faint pleas, Hedrick investigated, finding her on his porch, barely coherent. She whispered for emergency help, collapsing as he dialed 911. Paramedics arrived, horrified by her state, blackened skin peeling like paper, gasoline odor pervasive. They applied oxygen and dressings, but materials were insufficient. Audreanna, conscious amid unimaginable pain, detailed the attack to medics, naming Tina, Brittany, and Heather, describing the stun gun, crowbar, and fire. She begged for her children's protection and inquired if she'd survive, knowing her time was limited. Transported to a local hospital, then airlifted to the University of South Alabama Burns Center in Mobile, Audreanna was placed in an induced coma. Investigators swiftly located the crime scene. A dirt path from Hedrick's home revealed fire remnants, a crowbar with Audreanna's blood, the stun gun, Tina's DNA on handle, Brittany's shoes, her DNA, and a hair weave. Back at the trailer, the perpetrators discarded bloody clothes in a dumpster. Brittany, with her broken finger, sought hospital treatment. Police questioned Tina and Heather, who claimed alibis watching movies or cooking fish, but inconsistencies arose. Forensic analysis of Tina's SUV found Audreanna's blood drop. Tina confided in friend Pamela Valley, admitting the attack and asking her to finish Audreanna in the hospital. Pamela reported this, bolstering evidence. Audreanna fought for 16 days, succumbing on April 9. Autopsy confirmed death from multiple thermal injuries, with blunt force wounds and a skull laceration causing internal bleeding. Only her right ankle and calf escaped burns.